And can you blame anybody for being like, you know what? F you guys in your little club. I don't want to be part of it anyway. You guys are assholes. What's up, everybody? I'm Finn McKenty. This is the Punk Rock MBA, and today I wanted to talk about a little piece of news via my good friends at Metal Injection regarding MGK. The title of this is Machine Gun Kelly wins Top Rock Artist of 2021 at Billboard Music Awards, and rock fans are mad. And let's dig into it a little bit deeper. At last night's Billboard Music Awards, he beat out AC/DC and Five Finger Death Punch for Top Rock Artist. His album also beat out AC/DC's Power Up, and the latest from Bruce Springsteen and Miley Cyrus for Top Rock Album. And here's what he had to say during the acceptance speech.
I released my first mixtape 15 years ago, and this is the first big stage I've ever been invited to accept an award on. If 5 years or 10 years or 12 years would have been too long waiting for this moment, then I wouldn't be having this moment. So just show the universe that it can't take a dream from you.
First of all, great message. Another person who I'd say embodies this is Mod's son. He's been making music for like 15 years now. He's been a solo artist for 10 years. And only just in the past year or so has he become successful at the level he's at now. So remember, there is no such thing as an overnight success. Lots of things that seem that way were actually 10, 15, 20 years in the making. But anyway, as the news of his win got out, some rock fans are disappointed and confused. Here's a collection of reactions. And this is really what I wanted to focus on, the way that rock fans are reacting to this and what that means for the future of the genre in general. MGK is not a rock artist, LOL. I'm sorry, but that is not fucking rock. Get the fuck out with that. How is he a rock artist? And there's tons more like that. Basically, the theme of all these reactions is that for whatever reason, even though he clearly put out a rock album, I mean, if you haven't heard it, it sounds pretty much like a Blink album from 2003 or something. So despite the fact that he put out what is very clearly a rock album with all the elements of that, like guitars and live drums and all that stuff, somehow he's not a rock artist because he's made rap in the past. Which, first of all, is not really true. He's done lots of rock stuff. I mean, he did a song with Sleeping with Sirens in 2013. He did Warped Tour like 10 years ago. So he's always kind of had one foot in the rock scene. It's really not true that he switched genres overnight because Eminem beat him so bad in their battle that he had to like run with his tail between his legs to the rock scene. Not really true. He obviously started making rock because that's what he wanted to do. But that aside, the underlying assumption here basically is like, if you're not now, you never were. Like if you've ever played a note of music in your life that's not rock, then somehow for whatever reason, you're not allowed to play rock in the future and that you can't ever be a true rock artist. And why would we want that to be true? Why would that be the world that you want to live in? Shouldn't it be the opposite? Shouldn't we be excited when people from other genres decide to make a rock album like Trippie Redd did? I bet Post Malone's gonna make a rock album. The Miley Cyrus album that was also in the running for this award. Like, shouldn't we be excited? It's this weird thing I've talked about before where on the one hand, rock fans say that they wish rock was bigger, but then on the other hand, anytime someone tries to get into the club and be part of the rock scene, they're met with all this hostility and they're pushed out. And can you blame anybody for being like, you know what? Fuck you guys in your little club. I don't want to be part of it anyway. You guys are assholes. Never realized that MGK got his ass handed to him so hard by Eminem that he switched genres. How did he win Rock Artist of the Year? I haven't even heard of him releasing a song this year. This is another kind of theme here that somehow MGK isn't relevant because some rock fan hasn't heard of what he's done. Well, I hate to break it to you, the guy put out an album that went to #1 on Billboard. He's relevant whether you like it or not. And again, we should be happy about this. Even if you think his music is terrible, you should still be happy about the fact that somebody went to #1 with a pop punk album. Another person who's come along and done this that we should be very happy about is Olivia Rodrigo. I actually didn't know who she was until she put out Driver's License a month or two ago, whenever it was. Massive, massive song. She came from a Disney show, I guess, and she was in High School, the musical, the TV show. I don't know. But you could say the same thing about her. I mean, you could say that she's just this actress who came along and wanted to cash in by putting out a rock album, and you could say that she's not cool enough to be in the cool little snobby guy rock club. You could say that, or you could say, holy shit, this girl who's clearly super popular as an actress came along and put out a very good rock album that pretty much sounds like a combination of pop punk and like early 90s Riot Girl punk. made it super, super relevant again. Driver's License was a massive song. She has 45 million listeners on Spotify. And what percentage of her fans are going to dig deeper into her influences and say, this sounds pretty cool, what else is like this? And then they're going to discover Bratmobile and Bikini Kill or whatever. I don't know what the percentage is, but any percentage of 45 million people is a lot, and we should be happy about that. We should be happy about this. Anytime that somebody comes along and makes rock or rock adjacent music that gets young people excited about the genre, we should be applauding that. And there were quite a few other reactions along these lines. MGK beat AC/DC for top rock artist. A legend in the making, folks. Freddie Mercury is shaking in his boots right now. You gotta thank Eminem for making MGK stop rapping and go rock. This is not rock music. As I mentioned elsewhere, 500 Death Punch or AC/DC should have gotten this award and the other rock awards. Billboard has no clue what rock and metal music are and are a farce just like the Grammys. Now look, AC/DC and 5 Death Punch are both really good bands and I think deserve a ton of respect, but who is more relevant in 2021? 5 Death Punch, AC/DC, or MGK? With all due respect to AC/DC, I would say they probably peaked in like 1987. 5 Death Punch is a solid band who's very successful. Tons of respect for them as well, but they didn't go to #1. They didn't like basically single-handedly revive a genre the way that MGK did. So the idea that they deserve it simply for being older is a real problem. Like when the guy brought up Freddie Mercury. I mean, Queen was a 70s and early 80s band, which is not a bad thing. They made some great music, but we've got to stop living in the past. We've got to stop lionizing stuff from 20, 30, 40 years ago and putting it on this pedestal where we won't allow anybody else to come along and take their place. Being excited about the success of MGK or Olivia Rodrigo or any other newer artist does not take away from anything that the greats of the past did. This is not a zero-sum game. We can think MGK is great and we can also think that Freddie Mercury is great. These two things are not at odds. And as I've talked about before, if you care about the future of the genre, which if you're watching this, I hope that you do, you probably do, we should be excited about developing new stars. It is not healthy for the genre to have these festival headliners be artists from like the 80s and 90s and sometimes even the 70s. I mean, you see these festivals in Europe where it's like the Scorpions headlining. No offense to the Scorpions, but how can you expect somebody under like 45 to care about going to the show headlined by a band who peaked before this person was even born? I mean, I'm 42 and the Scorpions are a little bit too old school for me. And when I've mentioned this before, sometimes people will say, well, that's not true. There's newer bands like Bring Me the Horizon coming along who are going to be headlining festivals in a couple years. Well, here's the truth. Bring Me the Horizon is over 15 years old now. I think they started in what, 2003, 2004? So that band is almost 20 years old now. And you're saying that it's going to be a couple more years before they can headline festivals, before we're ready to let them ascend to that level? Like, how long does it take for rock fans to accept a band? It takes 30 years? That's just crazy. Now, to be fair, I would say that rap maybe almost has the opposite problem where like the headliners of those festivals oftentimes have only been around for a couple years, and so they kind of churn through stars so fast that it feels like stuff that happened only like 5, 6, 7 years ago is irrelevant and laughable now. And I don't know that that's good either, because you do want to be able to have a mix of both, I think, to have a healthy genre where you can have a festival that a 16-year-old and a 36-year-old are both excited about going to. But rock is just so lopsided in favor of these legacy artists, and it's a problem. Like MGK said, he's been making music for 15 years. He's like 31 or 32 or something, which is obviously not old in the big picture, but it's not super young in the context of music. And if you want young people to get into the stuff, you can't have people in their 40s and 50s and 60s as like the flag bearers for this genre. And also, do you really want 5 Death Punch as the mascot for rock? Like, if 5 Death Punch won, would you actually be happy? I don't think you would. I think you'd be complaining about something else. And that's another problem with the rock fans. They just complain about absolutely everything. It's exhausting. This crab mentality has got to stop. We've got to stop dragging people down anytime they become successful.
I hate you, I don't even know you, and I hate your guts.
But one thing I do agree with some of these people who said that Billboard and the other awards shows are clueless about rock and clueless about music in general. I think that's true. And so to that person, I would say, I agree. In that case, who gives a shit who Billboard gave the award to? It doesn't mean anything. I feel the same way about the Grammys. I mean, the most notorious example of that, I remember when I was in like 6th or 7th grade or something, they gave Jethro Tull the best metal Grammy over Metallica. These awards are not given to the people that that make the best music necessarily, or even the most commercially successful music. This is all political. There's nominating committees based on who knows who and what beef happened behind the scenes and personal drama from 20 years ago and blah, blah, blah. You see them give like best new artist awards to people who have been around for like 10 years and stuff. They are clueless. They do not have their ear to the street. So who really gives a shit what they think? Anybody who wins an award, that's very cool. You should be proud of that. But to me, what matters most is the fans. If their fans like what they're doing and they're able to make the living that they want, making the art that they want, that's the only award that really matters, right? So if you don't like these awards shows, don't pay attention to them. It's pretty simple. But to me, the big takeaway here is that these rock purity tests have got to go. We cannot go on gatekeeping any new artist and comparing them to like Freddie Mercury. And we shouldn't want our festival lineups to be dominated by like people in their 40s and 50s and 60s. This is not healthy for the genre. If you don't like MGK or Olivia Rodrigo, that's totally cool. You don't have to, but you should still be happy about the fact that they are so successful, because guess what? A rising tide lifts all boats.
I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
All right, my friends, that's all I have for this one. Just a couple quick thoughts on this. As always, let me know what you think in the comments. And I want to thank everybody who supports us on Patreon, especially those of you who support us at the true cult level or above. Patrons get access to every one of my podcasts a week early. There's a members only private Discord server that I'm super active in. I do giveaways, I do Q&As. There's a way to have me review your music or artwork or video or anything else you would like to get my eyes or ears on. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can join the Patreon at the link in the description. And with that, I'm going to sign off for now, but I will see you next time.